Thank you to Reuters for convening us for this conversation in these moments when such dialogues and partnership spaces are so key, particularly so for this region that does have the privilege or the curse to be pivotal to issues of global sustainability challenges and opportunity. So I will kick off with some reflections, and my fellow UNDP colleagues who are in the room with you will pick up right after. I have been asked to address the so-called ESG pullback, and if Asia is bringing new thinking, new models of ESG leadership at this time, when headlines, especially in Western media and markets, warn of a retreat. Now, you would know best if companies that transact in the region are stepping back from social and environmental commitments, and regulatory uncertainty and the shifting political winds are pushing what we are experiencing today. Let me share what we see here in Asia through the eyes of UNDP. Things are challenging and changing, but we don't see a retreat. A reset maybe, or a recalibration perhaps. So let me explain why I say this. Now, ESG was always an easy way out and did not truly address the fundamental changes needed in the large sectors to truly shift the way we grow, consume, manufacture, travel, or trade, to ensure a lighter carbon footprint, less emissions, and better protection of the climate and natural assets. Ideologies and politics aside, it was just too costly in the short to medium term. However, what an ESG framework did provide as a successor to the socially responsible investing of the 1970s and corporate social responsibility of the 1980s was to learn from these principles and value-based investing frameworks and add the environmental concerns to them in the 1990s. So when the UN Global Compact introduced the term ESG in its 2004 report, it was already somewhat familiar to those who had been following these patterns. And John Elkington's triple bottom line evolved into a sustainability framework that addressed people, planet, and profit. Today, we see industry leaders in Asia showing that the long game is paying dividends. And with advances in tech and systems innovations, the so-called ESG focus is not just good to do, but also good for business. You know this, you can see it. So in this region, I would posit that the ESG framework is being redefined, not abandoned. And it had better be so, for it is also the region that is now responsible for 60% of global emissions. And at the same time, it is also the region expected to account for 80% of global middle-class growth by 2034. So this is where the market is. So for both reasons, good and bad, Asian societies, businesses, and consumers can and must shape the future of ESG and sustainability. And persuading businesses, large and small, to change behaviors to operate in the best interests of people and planet while making a profit, maybe a slightly lesser profit, but made up for by growing a loyal consumer base, will be the test. So this is where government matters for policies that promote deeper changes to get to climate and biodiversity protection goals, which must be more ambitious and actioned through policy and regulation. This is where consumers matter, for that large and loyal base must value companies based on their sustainability practices. And this is where investors matter, as they must evaluate companies based on the same. So at UNDP, we see Asia driving a pull forward on ESG. Practical, locally rooted, and focused on real impact. Now let me highlight just a few illustrative examples as I wrap up. 85% of Asia-Pacific's energy still comes from fossil fuels, but renewables are accelerating fast. Partnerships like JETP are enabling governments and the private sector to set ambitious energy transition plans and deliver on their NDCs. Now, more businesses are adopting national climate strategies and national biodiversity strategies and action plans, with UNDP's support, and joining the Biodiversity Credit Alliance that we launched. And another next-gen ESG opportunity comes with tapping the informal economy to uplift the 1.3 billion workers whose livelihoods rely on informal work. Now, what does ESG mean for them? We are scaling up our youth work, which has already reached 300,000 young people with the Youth Moonshot. This is about getting businesses to invest more in young people through training, entrepreneurship, and bringing them into the value chain. So do please look that up. I am convinced that with the right governance to manage the various parts of the reforms that underpin these transitions ahead, be it in energy, digital, legal, or social protection, this is the glue that holds the future of ESG together. In urban governance, for example, as social contracts are being resilience tested across Asia and the Pacific, we're working with businesses in cities to explore how urban centers can innovate to keep pace with sustainability demands, including things like air pollution and climate adaptation. And to end with an example at regional level, with ASEAN, through the source-to-sea governance model, we're linking river basin management with marine conservation across 6 Southeast Asian countries, protecting vital ecosystems from the Bay of Bengal to the South China Seas. For UNDP, a reset on ESG is like a full-on health check, a chance to diagnose, adapt, and improve, and with the goal being healthy societies, economies, and the planet. To me, this is a call for a powerful pull forward for sustainability in this region. And I look forward to the partnerships and ideas that will emerge from this conference. And now I have the pleasure to hand the floor to Ed Virkich, our UNDP resident representative for Malaysia, Singapore, and Brunei Darussalam. Thank you so much.